Hey friends, before I start the showcase, this was a fun car show, but I think there's a whole theme that we can really play off of over time. So I want you to be thinking about the tiny little Hot Wheels cars, the little rally racers that they have been doing. That's what the whole car show is about, that we'll get to in the second half of this video. And then I come back with just right at the end, with a little idea for a car culture mix. I want your ideas too, so put them in the comments as you watch this video. You'll see how it plays out. This was a fun one. All right, on to the showcase. Hello everybody, this is a Lamley showcase. Hot Wheels Team Transport mix. I have no idea. Maybe I'll get it in the title of the video. Second or third mix of 2025. That's not why we're doing the video. We're doing the video to showcase the models. This is the new mix. It is hitting hobby stores and probably retail stores very, very soon. So be prepared to grab some. We've got off-road, classic muscle Mopar, and classic Honda. This is a 2 out of 3 set, to be honest, the way I look at it. But let's get to it. Let's focus on all three of these. I got a cool car show at the end. Let's just start. Here we are. Let's get this one done. Okay. This is the Toyota FJ Cruiser and the Horizon Hauler. Let's look at the back here for a second. There's all three sets. There is that if you need it. Let's look at the artwork. The artwork is cool. Horizon Hauler is a very cool hauler. I like all the haulers. And it's the FJ Cruiser. FJ Cruiser, it's not classic. It's not current. Maybe one day it will be classic. Maybe some of you consider it classic. It was done for Fast and Furious, the casting. Obviously, they want to get they need to get their money's worth out of these castings and these licenses. And I will say that a racing FJ Cruiser is pretty cool, all things considered. But so within the range of FJ Cruisers, this one will be very, very cool. But the range of FJ Cruisers is not very high, I think, is what I would say about this one. I'm very afraid that we're going to see a lot of orange and black FJ Cruisers on the pegs, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope all of you say, I don't know what you're talking about, Lamley. That thing is awesome. I can't wait to get it. I'm happy to have it in terms of the variety. This is number 81. The variety of Team Transport and all that kind of stuff, but, ultimately when you put the Team Transport together, you kind of go, okay, there's some cool stuff. But, well, here's the hauler. I think what we're going to do right now, I'm just going to show you the hauler real quickly. I don't even know if we're going to put it on the turntable. Maybe we will. Color combination is fabulous on this with the black with the orange trim. And, yeah, maybe I'll just put it on the turntable like this with the FJ Cruiser on top. And, I'm probably selling this FJ, and Ron's going to be mad at me when he sees this video because he's very happy that he was able to do this. And I have to say, now that we're moving on to the FJ Cruiser, when you look at it, I probably spent some time on this in the all-black version that came from Fast and Furious. But, yeah, I mean, this is a cool version of a vehicle that I have very little opinions on. So maybe I'm speaking more personally, but I don't know. We'll see. It's cool to have it. It's cool to have it as a casting. Probably should have been done 10 years ago, but it's really well executed. And as a kind of rally style, off-road rally racer, I think this is pretty cool because it's a really nice casting. So we'll just kind of leave that at that. We're going to move this over here because we got a car show to do. So that one's a little bit out of the way. Now these two sets. Now we are talking. I have said I am in the crowd that would like to see more muscle, and I know there's a lot that share that opinion because I think there's so many cool classic muscle car castings that have been done. Obviously, there's more that can be done, but they've got quite the arsenal of cool muscle cars, especially going into premium, and that is exactly what this is. This is the 73 Plymouth Duster with the second story lorry, so we can get actually, might be able to get 2 more muscle cars on here. Artwork is fabulous, so vintage racing vibes here with even the track almost looks like it's a picture, and maybe that was done on purpose. Doesn't that look... look at this. So this looks like a more, like a current photo. They've added a retro vibe to this photo, have they not? I think they have. So it looks like an old picture. Have they done that before? That well done, Hot Wheels packaging team. Because if that's if that's what you're going for, I'll have to ask the packaging team. This looks like a picture taken in the 70s, the way like the finish on that. So that's pretty sweet. All right, let's open this one up, and I'm really happy. So like I said, while I'm opening this up, we go back to like vintage racing, the vintage racing set from 2009, 2010. Some of the racing sets they did after that. There's some really, really cool castings that, you know, they've brought back a little bit, but can continue to do more. And the more they visit, I'm actually going to go down a little bit. The more they visit these castings, the happier I think I'll be. And yeah, we'd like to see more. Here is the hauler with the car in it. There is a little bit of it. There's a plastic insert here to kind of keep it intact for packaging. Obviously, we'll get rid of that here in a second. Mopar on the back ramp, which is awesome. Mopar on the front cab, which is awesome. And then, of course, we can load this up. And maybe, you know what I'll do, I just showed this. Maybe we'll show the second story lorry on the turntable once we have, all right, I got to figure this out. Once we have other cars to put on it, we'll just show it in all of its glory. Does this, I think this is supposed to, there we go. That's how it's, well, anyway, let's just get rid of it. Okay, now the question is how to get that packaging out of here. Do we just, no, we don't pull it. I guess, yeah, there we go. Okay, it's manageable. Now you get rid of that thing, put that over here. Now I think we can probably, there we go. Once you get rid of the plastic, now you're good. Okay, so before we get to the Plymouth Duster, so I said this is a vintage racing casting. I believe it actually did debut in vintage racing. So I've got them out. I think there's a basic one that has an exposed engine. This one is the vintage racing Sox and Martin, which I think this is, you know, we're going, I'm trying to remember if all three of them are actual liveries. There's two from vintage racing. So this I think is the debut from the actual vintage racing from 15 years ago, which looks fabulous in the blue and the red trim. I mean, this is, I've said the vintage racing set is one of my all-time favorites. Then the Mopar Missile, look at this one in the black and gold trim with the gold rims, mag style rims, love it. I mean, this is just, I don't know what the golden era of Hot Wheels is. I think we're in it with car culture, but when they throw back to vintage racing, I'm always excited, and it's really fun to pull out these. I think we can get both of them on there. Pull out these classic vintage racing muscle cars. I just love it. This was not vintage racing, but it was a set done maybe a year or two afterwards with the Holy Moly. I think it was, I can't remember the set. It was like 5 or 6 cars. Oh, it's the NHRA set. It was the NHRA set. I think there was 5 or 6 models in it. And this Plymouth Duster was part of that set. Really like the Holy Moly deco. Have no idea if this is a licensed one. We'll go ahead and roll that one in. These are the oldest versions. Oh, can I get that? Maybe I have to do it this way. And then the fourth one, which unfortunately is not going to get a spot on this second story lorry, is the Last Stand from the Drag Strip Demons set in Car Culture, right? So this is the most recent before the well, we'll get to the current one. So there it is. So there's all 4 of those. I guess we can, even though it's not going to have a spot, it can be longing for a spot. Let's put the second story lorry on with these 3 of these Dusters. We'll put the 3 oldest on the turntable so you can see it. It just looks cool. Really, really cool casting. Really, really cool old like vintage decos on all 4 of them, including now the 5th. And this seems to be a throwback to Snake and Mongoose, does it not? This looks like the Snake and Mongoose deco. I should have brought that out, but I don't have it. Maybe for the turntable, I'll pull it out and see if I can't, see if we can do a little comparison, because I'm just seeing that kind of vintage Hot Wheels on the back, and obviously the red with the white trim makes a lot of sense. But it looks Snake and Mongoose-y, right? Plymouth Duster, Hemi. Yeah, no reference, but I think there is kind of maybe an homage element going on here on this model. But it looks fantastic. And I just, keep bringing out these muscle cars. I should do a video on like what vintage racing could be, like what it's become since, like kind of an extension. Like the vintage racing set had 30 cars. Then there was Drag Strip Demons. Maybe Drag Strip Demons was first. I can't remember. I got that video coming. Anyway, there's a lot to do here in terms of like these old vintage racing castings and what could potentially be done, you know, like kind of an extension of it. I'm kind of just riffing as I do this video, but anyway, there's some cool ideas. All right, so that's that. Mopar, Plymouth Duster, really happy with that set. And just keep on doing vintage racing in Team Transport, or just do a vintage racing mix in car culture. It's got to be coming. It just has to be. All right. 73 Honda Civic Custom, another classic from 1973. So we're really celebrating that year in this set. And the Aerolift. So now we have classic JDM Civic Custom done as a racing car. This started in basic and then has moved to premium. This is the second version in premium. This is going to be a super treasure hunt this year as well. Well, let's open it up. There's the art. Very nice. Very nice. Oh, this art's so cool. It's so cool. Here's the set. Not much to report here on the hauler, but we'll just show it real quickly. In white rims, that always looks nice, and it will look nice with the Honda, of course, on it. When we put it on the turntable, Honda is on it, and it looks very, very cool. So what kind of, sometimes you get these generic haulers. My assumption is when they get the approvals on these models and they from like the licensor, in this case Honda, and they say, hey, do you want us to put Honda badging on the truck, even though it's not Honda badged? Honda said no, but they were able to put the stripes on there, so it looks cool. But here is the car. We'll get the car show going. Let me just, it's been in premium once before. That was in Japan Historics 4 as more of a street version, which I love, in this kind of dark red gray rims, Watanabe style rims. Looks perfect. Dig it. This is one of my favorites from that set, from the Japan Historics set. We'll put that right here. And now we have this modal racing version. So modal badging, Bridgestone, love it as a little race car. And you know the sound this is making in a rally style, or in a rally, in a race. You could just see this one hitting the corners, just breezing by. I don't even know how to describe the sound without making it, so I ain't gonna make it. No way. It would just be, I'll leave that up for kids to make that. But you know the sound this car is making when it's zipping down the track and hitting those corners so fast. This thing is awesome, which leads to the car show. And when you see something like this, and you just, I almost think that the theme of the car show is the sound of these tiny little race cars, whether they're typically Japanese, right, or European, right, these rally cars. You know the sound they make. It's quite fun to see them racing against each other. It just, there's a vibe that they give off in the racetrack that other cars don't. And, you know, little VWs racing versus little Porsches. Well, that's going to be the theme today. This Honda reminded me of several little cars. So what I did is I went through the premium collection and pulled out cars that the castings are actually tiny because they represent tiny cars, or like older castings that if they were to do them today, they probably would be smaller. But basically creating what would be a very cool rally race between these little cars. What is it? The door slammers, or anyway. So I pulled out a bunch, one of each casting, and let's see what kind of car show we can create. All right, like I said, I just went through the collection and I looked for the smallest castings and the cars and the other castings that represent the smallest cars. I probably missed a few, and I would love to see your recommendations as well. But let's form a little family here of small cars. And it had to start, and again, I only went premium, so I went to basically through Car Culture, Fast and Furious, and Boulevard. And this is the first one, is the little Fiat 500. Now this one, you know, obviously some of these have moved to basic and stuff, but I have like the premium. This wasn't the first one. I think this was the second one in Golf livery. And I tried, if there was a good racing version, I tried to pull that one out. It wasn't exact, but this one, again, all I want you to visualize as I pull these out is all of these racing against each other on the racetrack and how joyful that is. So the Fiat, we'll just go ahead and put this one right here. Next one, thought about this one back and forth, decided to add it. Why not? And you guys can say if these count. But as we're building this little race, I had to put the Porsche Outlaw in as well, just because it is tiny. This is the Momo version from Team Transport. Thought that one was a valid contributor as well. I don't know if that Porsche would be racing with these other cars, but let's just keep on going, right? Let's just do that for now. Next one. Had to go with the Honda City Turbo 2. I think this is the only premium version, right? I don't know if we've seen it ever since. It was in Japan Historics 3 in this livery, and this livery actually exists. Whether this actually raced or not, I don't know, but it would definitely work in this particular race. I think that one's pretty cool. Now we're seeing like the little motorcycle go into the basic range. Had to put a VW in here. I don't think this version, this type of VW would be racing, but it is tiny and it's done well. I think these little Beetles that they've been doing, you know, they've upped the Beetle game. Beetles have been in Hot Wheels for a long time, but this premium version with the smaller wheels, now that they've been producing smaller premium rims, like there are, and you'll see some of these castings that I think are worth possibly revisiting. I don't know how it would work, but you know, we'll see. When you're speaking of sounds and you're thinking of these cars racing around the track, the A86 was a no-brainer. So I pulled out this TRD version. There's probably several I could pull out, but I've always liked the deco on this one. This is from maybe one of the drift sets, I think. But this one, no matter what, I just had to put that one in there because when you're in, and I'm going all on these visuals in my head when I'm envisioning, and that one definitely makes a ton of sense. This one is one of the all-timers. Like the Julius Sprint, watching this one race around, the Junior, whatever, but the Julius Sprint makes a ton of sense. This one is done as a racing version now. It's on its own. Like this casting is perfect. I think Mark Jones designed it. I would say though, with the smaller rims, they could redo this one. This is one that I think actually might be worth. Now I know the Fast and Furious Orange version hangs like crazy, but this is a fabulous casting that deserves a lot of love, and there's some great versions of it. Maybe looking back, they could find a different version of this same silhouette and produce a new Alfa Romeo with smaller rims, because I'd love to see what they would do with that. But more than that, there's some others that I think could get the small rim love, and the next three, because they come all from this same mix. In fact, I pulled 4 cars from this. Was it Door Slammers? Is that what it's called? But I put the Datsun 510. It might be time. The Datsun 510, I might do a video on. I think the Datsun 510 is kind of done. Both the wagon and the coupe. I mean, what else are you going to do? This is one of my favorite versions of this casting in this racing deco with the white rims. But I think that might be like some sort of like different kind of Datsun 510. I guess you could do like, they were going to do a rally version at one point, off-road rally version, and they with one of the racing mixes, and they ended up canning it. But they could do that, or they could do one with the smaller rims. Same thing with the Escort. This is that John Player tribute deco from the same mix. That I think the Escort would be one. Another Ford with smaller rims would be really fun to see. But maybe this one's fine. I don't know. This one's obviously came from the Fast and Furious, and that's another one that just you would see in these racing sets for sure. And then the last one is the BMW. Now, I think we have the... I went ahead and put the 2002. We could have put the other one, the Group 5, in here. And maybe I should have put the Group 5 in here. But I wanted to do the 2002 because I think that, while the Group 5 is a version of that, you could do another 2002. Maybe they have. Maybe I should have just brought out the Group 5. But I did. I brought out the 2002, so we'll just do that. We'll put it right there. All right, another one. By the way, there is a squirrel right over there. I think we need to let it move on from what it's doing, so I might have to pause for just a second. All right, that's resolved. Toyota Starlet. Have we had racing versions? We had that purple version, but I pulled out the first one from the Toyota set. Love this casting. Another one that I think you could see just really zipping around the track. These cars almost look faster than they really are compared to some other race cars when they're hitting the track, because they're just so tiny. I just think they're just, I don't know, they're just so fun to... I don't know if I've done, I mean, have we done a car show like this? I don't know if we have, and I feel like I want to explore this a little bit more and like kind of dive deeper into the racing element of this, and then kind of see what cars would be fun to see Hot Wheels do. MG Metro GR4 rally version, kind of a classic car. It has gotten I think a lot of the US based collectors have had to learn about this car, including me. But once you do learn about it, you sure gain appreciation. Our European friends are going, yeah, no, this is a classic, man. And I think this is the first version of it. It's been out a couple different times, including this year. But that would be one that would, I think, fit in. I don't know if this one would or not, but I had to put the Sentra in because it's another tiny casting that I think is really, really well done. And, you know, I said the qualification was tiny casting or tiny, like car, like casting of tiny car. So this one makes sense being in there, and might be fun to see more racing versions. They did that BRE version, which was kind of clever, but I'd like to see, you know, more racing versions of that one done. The mini truck, we've only seen this once, right? And then it got repeated in a 2-pack. What's the actual Austin Mini pickup? Done in a racing deco. I don't know. Did they race this? Our friends in the UK, did they race this? I know they raced minis for sure, but I don't. Did they race this one? I have no idea, but it looks like they did in the British Racing Green. It makes a ton of sense being in that. Had to pull out the Mango, the Toyota Corolla, 72 Corolla 11. That would make sense with the AE86. Another one like this would just not be the same if it had the bigger rims. They'd have to build the body around that. I mean, that's the difference between, say, these two, right? You know, the 11, and I guess you could go back to the old A86 casting. Like, if you just see the proportions and you would see what how they could apply these proportions to this model, then you kind of see what potentially could be done, or even the Alfa Romeo. It's kind of exciting to think what they could do, because this casting is near perfect. Phil Reelman did that one, and I just love that. Now we can go back. I just pulled out this one from you know, Craig Callum's, the replica of Craig Callum's Mini. We have a new Mini coming, right, in basic, and it's time. This thing has to be retired. I mean, and do Craig Callum's Mini again, because this one, it's just too big. And when you start looking at what Hot Wheels has been able to do, I mean, it's just a casting from a different era. It needs to be retired and be appreciated for what it was back in the day. But there is in basic, there's a new Mini coming, right? We did preview that, right, in St. Louis, and hopefully that gets applied to premium, and we can see racing versions of this one. So this one, I'm hoping for sure. It just has to be redone for sure. Racing cars. This one, I saw this at Goodwood. Saw these racing around. And I mean, how cool are these? Just an awesome, and I just love the racing version of the Ford Anglia. What is this? Racer, right? They call it. So this one's kind of perfect. This one's just like as a perfect representation of what I'm trying to show today with the tiny, tiny cars. And have we had just one version so far? Is that it? We need lots and lots of versions of this one because it's such a cool car. And like I said, I had it. This one probably doesn't fit, but in terms of tiny castings, the Lancia Stratos, I could have pulled out the other Lancias. There was the other Stratos, right? I probably should have pulled those out, but I didn't. Kind of kept with the small casting on this one, and this one is small. It's not a race car, it is a concept. So it really, actually, I almost feel like I shouldn't include it, but I pulled it out anyway, so maybe I'll just put it back here. Just happened to be watching. So there is one spot left, and we can put the Honda right there. That's a nice little mix. I want to explore this a little bit more. You guys tell me what you think, like, and see if there's two things from you. One, other castings that you might include. That's number one. Number two is models, tiny racing cars that you would love to see. I think, you know, maybe some more VW representation here, more Ford Rally, obviously some JDM, maybe some BMW. I don't know. All right, before I close up shop, as I was editing this, I just remembered a couple of other cars. I mentioned the Group 5. I should have showed this instead of the 2002, and I really should have. This is the better car for, and when we're talking about small racers, I guess I could have shown the 2002 and the Group 5. But as I was pulling out the Group 5, because I was like, it deserves a showcase, or it deserves to be part of this showcase on the small racing cars that Hot Wheels has done, it got me thinking there was a model that I totally missed that I think qualifies, and I think you guys will agree, is the Fiat 131 Abarth. Should have put this one in as I was doing the showcase outside, but I forgot. But this one totally, plus they've done this racing livery, this one has to go. Now, as I was doing this, I was like, okay, well, the Group 5 I got to put in here, and well, let's put it in the lane. And then the Fiat 131. And then I started thinking, you know, when I was in Malaysia, I got to do an L case unboxing. And while I know I'm only doing premium in the showcase, let me just use this second to plead with the Hot Wheels team, which I did mention, I think, in the L case showcase I did with Johnny's Diecast and Ministry of Diecast. These two models were my favorites from that case. The Alfa Romeo, here, I'll put this way, the Alfa Romeo Giulia TI Super and the Lotus Cortina. So yes, these are basics, but Hot Wheels team, move these to premium, make these two fantastic tiny little premium race cars, add those to this little mix. So you've got the BMW Group 5, the Alfa Romeo Giulia TI, the Fiat 131 TI Super, and the Lotus Cortina. And then for good measure, add the model that we've already featured. I'll put it here in the background, the Ford Anglia. I'm really hoping I'm saying that right. You read them, you never say them, and you guys can tell me if I've got it right. But look at that. How is this for a perfect, I don't know what you'd call it, but little rally racer set for car culture? Maybe you take one out and you add a new model that they can use as the chase and everything. But I don't know. Maybe this is just for old school racing fans or something, or Euro racing fans. But this is a Euro racing set that I think would be super, super cool. Turn these into premium, add all of these, put them all in racing liveries, give them fantastic race car art, and that would be a killer set. Do you agree? Well, I hope you do. That's one that I like. Mattel, if you're listening, get those to premium. It would be cool to see what cars you would like to see in the, and let's let Ron and the other premium teams kind of look at this and say, hey, what kind of tiny cars would we like to see if we wanted to form out like another little tiny car culture mix or something, because this would be really fun to explore. You guys tell me what you think. That's Car Show. That's what I think is a decent mix of team transport. Not the best mix, not the most hyped up mix, but Honda and Mopar I think for sure are great. I should, I don't want to be totally dissing on the FJ Cruiser, but we'll see how it plays out. Thanks everybody. Bye.